Good morning, welcome to Accountex. Really excited to be here. Okay.
So, in 2007, I was working as a subcontractor to an accountant, and I was earning £12.50 an hour. And as I was doing the bookkeeping, I could very clearly see his invoices, and for the work I was doing, he was charging me out for £35 an hour. And he did that for many years. I reckon at least 7 years before that and around then. And then in 2010, I had my third child. And I thought, hold on, the penny dropped. I can do that for myself. I'm doing all the work. He wasn't adding any extra value. That £35 an hour was for the work I was doing. So I'm going to go out there, I'm going to get my own clients, and I'm going to do this for myself. And these are some of our community, and we hear this a lot, that people build up the courage to go out and do this for themselves, and they start off with an hourly rate because that's what they've been charged out for before, maybe in practice, and they don't have the confidence maybe to go out at £35 an hour.
What we don't always think about when we start a business is that we've got overheads. So however small you think you're going to be in your business, you're going to have some overheads to cover, software costs, equipment, all the things you're using. Thank you. And what that meant really is that you're going to take some of that £35 an hour away. So if you had your 40% overheads, you're going to go away with £21 an hour, not the £12.50 an hour.
So it feels like it's a good deal, doesn't it? It feels like, yeah, okay, that'd be much better than the £12.50.
So in January 2010, the average, I love a bit of maths and statistics. So you'll always find an ONS reference from me. In January 2010, you might like to know, the average weekly earnings were £439. So if Jo went out there and she was charging £35 an hour and she was taking her £21 away, she would need to work 20 hours, which sounds good.
Yeah, especially I was trying to work around a family, and that still seems like a good idea. But in reality, there was no holiday, no sick leave, no tax included in that. So I'd have to obviously pay tax after that, and no benefits from that, because when you're self-employed, you don't get those. So we have to counter that in. So yeah, £21 an hour does sound good, but we still have these other things to consider. But I didn't charge £35 an hour because I wasn't an accountant, because he was charging me out at £35. That was okay for him, but I wasn't him. So I actually went out and started charging £25 an hour. And so let's look at the maths at that.
If you're charging 25 and not 35, and then you take your overheads off, you're only going to go away with £15 an hour. So it's simple maths, but just got to make that point. We're not ever getting that hourly rate we charge. We don't take that home.
So I could have been working to get the same result, same amount of money, £25 an hour. I'd have had to work 50% extra, basically, to take the same amount, because I was charging myself out 25 rather than £35 an hour. But remember, the client was getting exactly the same result. He was happily paying £35 an hour for a very long time. But when we charge by hourly rates, it doesn't work.
So remember, we're talking about 2010 here, and I just want to point out, like, £25 an hour, when we've done surveys in our community over the last few years, quite often we found that the average hourly rate people are charging right now, 14 years later, is £25 an hour. So you were kind of like groundbreaking a bit with your hourly rate.
I thought I was really expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to add inflation onto that, if you were pricing at £25 an hour in 2010, today we need to be charging £42.56 an hour. Is anyone charging £42.56 an hour or more? No? Okay. And if you actually went out and you charged the £35 that Jo's accountant was charging, then actually today you should be charging £59.59 an hour. So I guess there's no one here charging more than that per hour, which is good, because that means you can stay and hear the rest. I'm Zoe and this is Jo, and we run a community of bookkeepers. We help bookkeepers to earn more from bookkeeping, whether they want to do that in business, whether they want to be employed. These are some of our amazing members. Some of those people are here today. Lovely to see you. And if you want to come and join us, we have a community called the Six Figure Bookkeepers Club. It's a free community on Facebook.
So after all of that, talking about all those hourly rates, we don't recommend you build a business around an hourly rate.
But we did a survey, and we always like to talk about the hourly rate as a kind of proxy, because it's hard to measure, isn't it? It's hard to measure what you're charging if you're charging a monthly fee. So we always like to go back to this. If you had to charge an hourly rate, what would you charge? And this was the result. This QR code, by the way, feel free to scan it. There's a survey. We've issued the results this year. We did it at the beginning of the year. So if you want to find out what people are charging by the hour or what they're charging for different services, that's on us. We actually usually charge £59 for that, which is kind of coincidental with the £59.59 hourly rate. But what we found is that the average hourly rate is not anywhere like £59 an hour. At most, it's sort of £40 an hour-ish. And that seems to change over time. As you have more experience, you seem more confident to charge a bit more. And then it drops off.
And then the confidence drops off after 3 to 5 years, and we can explain a bit more about that. Because charging enough is just one of the problems with charging by the hour. It is not the only problem. Time. When we're selling time, there's no incentive to get quicker. And you have to spend more time with your clients to earn more money, which doesn't make sense in the world that we're in right now.
Also, it's really hard to get across the point of the value. If you're charging an hourly rate, you're going to be compared to someone else who charges an hourly rate. Like, how do you factor the value that you give for your hour into that?
It ends up with just being a race to the bottom, doesn't it? Because it's really hard to sell that. And advisory services. So if you're charging £25 an hour for invoicing, bank reconciliations, are you going to say, well, actually, I'm more expensive to talk to you about the cash flow and your management accounts? And how do you decide on that? How much are you worth an hour for that kind of time? And actually, we can get things done a lot quicker these days with advisory. We don't have to sit there and calculate it all for hours on end. So how do you charge for advisory and an hourly rate?
And then how do you price in automation? Like, if you're charging by the hour and you make things quicker, surely you're going to earn less. And then there's AI, and we don't really know what that means for us. So the hourly rate is broken.
Yeah, it's not going to work for the world that we live in now. It is an absolute trap for any of you. So we always talk about hourly rates because we know that even though in our community, those people that you saw on that picture, most of them are not charging by the hour, or they're on a journey like we're going to talk to you today about how do you get from the hourly rate mindset to a more value-based process. And this is a trap. This is me back in 2014 when I was running a firm based on the hourly rate. I had staff, I had overheads, I was really busy, I had lots of clients. I at the time was charging myself out at £35 an hour because I thought I'd made it, but everyone else was at £25 an hour. 2 years after this picture had taken, I was in hospital. I had 3 operations. I completely burnt out. I thought I was a bad business owner, that I didn't understand business. The reality is the whole foundation of the pricing strategy in my business was completely wrong, and it was leading me to overworking, underpayment, and complete and utter burnout. So this is why we talk about this, because I'm really passionate about it, because I'm not even joking, it nearly killed me. And that is the truth. If we do this wrong, there is so much at stake.
So we know all of the things that are wrong with the hourly rate, but why are we stuck there? Why are we here 3 years after we issued the first pricing survey where we said don't charge by the hour, still talking about the hourly rate? This doesn't work. It's so difficult to change. It's a massive mindset shift. And we think there are 3 reasons it's difficult to change. These are the 3 changes that are going to help you move away from the hourly rate. So we know there's a massive confidence issue in this industry. We see it all the time. We have confidence conversations all the time. We actually think it comes before many of the business skills or technical skills you think you need. We also think we don't talk about having a valuable offer. We'll talk to you a bit more about that. That doesn't sound like something we do in this industry. It sounds like an online thing or at the JML, something, we don't offer things like that. So we're going to talk to you about that. And then we don't really have the plan of action. So we're going to take you through something really simple that will help.
So let's talk a bit about confidence. Here are some of our lovely community from yesterday, bookkeepers in our community and accountants in our community on stage. sharing their story. I can tell you a year or 2 years ago, these people would not have ever thought that they'd be sitting on the stage at Accountex, and we're so proud. So that's part of what we do, is we help instill confidence with the community. You can kind of ride off of each other's wins, and you can see that it's possible for other people, and that helps to build your confidence.
And we're not saying you have to have the confidence that will get you on a stage. It's not about that. It's just the confidence to stand behind the value that you're bringing your clients. But, that's an added benefit if you can do that. So when we did the pricing survey, and if you missed it, that's the QR code to get it for free. One of the other questions we asked was, if you're in a sales call with your clients, with a potential client, a prospect, or in a meeting with them, and you are thinking about how likely am I to win the client, how do you rate yourself 1 out of 5, or out of 5, sorry. And we found way more than half of people said, well, I might be like a 3 out of 5 at best. So there still is a big confidence issue. So how do we feel that we can really stand behind what we're offering the client when we're in that sales call? Oh, and also this is the confidence over time. So we find, it makes sense right at the beginning of your journey. If you've only been in business for less than a year, like on the left-hand side of that chart, it makes sense. You're going to be less confident. You've never done it before. But over time, that confidence sort of rises, that blue section at the top, the 5 out of 5s, it gets more and more. But in some areas, we actually see this drop off over time.
And I do think that's a bit like what I experience. You're running a business in the wrong way, and you get to 3 to 5 years and you're thinking, is this worthwhile? Why am I doing this? This is hard work. So if we're building businesses on the wrong infrastructure, when you get to 3 to 5 years, you're going to start feeling less confident about yourself, because you might not be able to be delivering the service that you really wanted to deliver. And I think it's down to the fact that at the moment, a lot of people, when we're charging by the hourly rate, and how we offer our services, a bit like a menu, it's like you can have this, but you don't really know, the client doesn't really know what they want or what they need. And we talk in bookkeepers and accountancy speak about bank reconciliations and purchase invoices, and we tell them how much it's going to be an hour, and people are like, well, okay, and that's why there's a race to the bottom. People will say, well, I can do it for cheaper, because they don't know what it is they're buying. We're not selling any value.
Yeah, it's like you give them the choice. Here are all the things I can do for you. Which do you choose? We need to take the power back.
Yeah.
So we've spoken a bit about confidence. Let's talk about the offer. What are we talking about?
So we need to have an offer. People come to us because they have a problem and they are looking for a desired result. But we don't, like we just said, we don't deal with this bit in the middle. To get someone from problem to result, we need to fill the gap with our offer. That's what you see offers do on the TV and on the radio and online, on Facebook ads and things. But we don't tend to do that.
I had to get a cat on this. Okay, so if you've got pets, who's got a pet? Great. Okay. If you've got a pet, you will know what it's like when you've got you've got this lovely new carpet, shiny floor, and because you've got pets, it's actually kind of grubby and fluffy, and that's like an ongoing problem. So we need to, if we're a person with a lovely shiny floor, we've got pets, we want it to look nice, we have a problem that we have to solve. And it's easier when you talk about something like this because we're talking about a product. So as a customer, you think, I've got this problem I've got to solve, I need to go and find the right tool, product, piece of equipment that's going to help me. And you start thinking about, what do I need that to do? Well, I need it to work on multiple surfaces. I've got this massive issue also with always having a cord around the house while I'm trying to hoover up the stairs, and then I have to plug it in somewhere else. I'm always getting like hair and stuff and string tangled in the mechanism in the bottom of the vacuum cleaner. So it'd be really good if I can find a vacuum cleaner that will deal with all my pet hair, but also isn't going to run out of battery, or the plug isn't going to unplug itself halfway up the stairs, and all of these other things. So we start looking for the right solution. We start looking at vacuum cleaners.
Yeah. And this is the thing. You then can find something that has the solution to the problem, and you can see, oh, right, this has got all the things that I need, and it's going to get me from the problem to the result. And this is really easy when we're dealing with a thing. So we need to think, what problems do our clients have? What result is it that they want to have? And how do we productize the service that we're going to be giving? Because it's really hard to sell a service because it's invisible. What we're selling is completely intangible. No one can hold on to a bank reconciliation. Well, you might have been able to in the past with pieces of paper, but you know what I mean? It's not something physical. We need to learn how to get better at selling and how this gap is filled.
And it's kind of like selling a promise. You know, no one really knows that we're going to do the thing. It's really hard to convince somebody of what they're going to get. And that's what we've got to stand behind. So we need to understand what that promise looks like. And I think this is a communication problem. We need to be able to use the right words to tell the customer what they're going to get. We need to be skilled at doing that. We also have to make sure that the clients understand something we can do, which is quite complex and out of their comfort zone and often uses technology that they don't understand. And then they have to be able to visualize the result. So what will it be like for them when they have received or benefited from this service that we're selling them?
So we have to make the invisible visible and the intangible tangible, which sounds a bit like, like magic, doesn't it? But let's think of another professional service that does this really well. It's that we think of solicitors. Okay, so you go to a solicitor because you want to buy a house, you want to get a divorce, or you need to get power of attorney for a loved one. They're all kind of intangible, but we can see very clearly the result. We can see the new home. We can see the freedom of the divorce, if that's what you're after. You can see the fact that if you're with a loved one that's going to go as poorly, that you want to have the autonomy to be able to care for them and make the decisions for them. We have an emotional feeling to the result, so it makes it easy. And then that's why we don't question a solicitor's fees. We just pay it. We might think, wow, that's expensive, but we can see the value in it.
Yeah, we don't go, oh, but how many hours is that going to take you?
No.
Well, maybe the one down the road can do it a bit cheaper.
Exactly. We are happy to spend our money at that point because we can see and visualize the value. So we need to get good with our clients of selling the vision. We need to help them see that working with us is not necessarily just about saving tax. It's about making more money. I think a lot in our industry, we're very much about saving. But actually, yes, but what's the flip side of that? If you're saving money there, you have more money. So let's talk more about the money that you're going to have by working with us, the freedom you're going to have, not feeling that you're tied to the desk and the weekends doing the paperwork. You're going to have more freedom. You're going to be able to spend more time with your family and doing the things that you love to do because of working with us. That's what we give you. You're going to be content. You're going to know that if a brown envelope comes through the door, it's fine. It's all fine. It's meant to be there. You're not in trouble. You've got that peace of mind. You've got a really good expert in your corner looking after you. And maybe you want to travel. This is the kind of questions we need to be speaking to our clients about. What is their goal? Why are they running this business? What do they want to do with their lives? And then we can say to them, we can help you achieve that.
So how do we put this in a bag or put it in a box, wrap it up with a bow? When Jo was running her practice, Jo Wood Virtual FD, which she sold last year, she had an ideal client. You might not all know this. She had an ideal client that she called Sophie West. And Jo, you knew loads about Sophie.
Yeah, I got to really intimately know Sophie, who my ideal client was, because I wanted to do something called attraction marketing. So I would talk to Sophie in my marketing, and then hopefully I would attract her and lots of people that were just like her. So I knew lots about Sophie. She had children. She lived in semi-rural London. She was married, had a dog. She liked running. She was the typical mum on the PTA, always on her phone. She really wanted an extension. The kids were growing up. They didn't want to share a room anymore. And she wanted to go on breaks in half term, not just the 2-week holiday in the summer. I really knew who Sophie was.
But you didn't just know about her personal life, you knew about her business as well?
Yeah, I knew that she wanted to earn more, but she was also always the person that got paid last. and she was doing bank balance accounting. Like, is there enough money? Oh, I'll just take a couple of £100 out here and there. Everyone else was a priority. She wasn't a priority. She was petrified of HMRC. She was constantly thinking she was doing things wrong, and she had lots of paperwork around because she wasn't tech savvy, and she felt when she went to speak to her accountant or ask a question, she always felt inferior and that she was stupid, and she just hated the whole thing, and really she buried her head in the sand.
Oh,
I know, sad times.
So all of those things on the left-hand side, they're her problems. So, you know, when we were talking about the vacuum cleaner example, we're looking for something to solve these problems. The cord-free vacuum cleaner that works on pet hair, all of that. It's the same when we think about Sophie and her problems. But what we've been doing for so long is we've been going out there with a menu or a list of services we can give, and we've been saying to Sophie, traditionally, we've been saying to her, hey Sophie, here are some things I do. It's £25 an hour. Which of these would you like? And we may have said, oh, we can do your payroll, we can do your invoicing and your bank rec and your credit control. And then she might have thought, well, actually, I kind of need to save some of those £25. So what if I did the invoicing myself and did the credit control myself? And then we start to go back to what's the cost per hour and how can I get the least input, I suppose, from my bookkeeper or accountant.
Yeah, and she's also going to be thinking, well, you've given me a list of what and how much your hourly rate is. I'm going to go and check out the market and see if someone else can do it for cheaper, because she's not really sure if you're telling her what she needs, but she's not sure if that's what she needs, because this is all new to her. So her problems were needing to earn more money. So our outcome is we can be talking about how our service is going to help her make more money. She pays everyone before herself. We could talk about how our cash flow services can help her have a future vision of what's going to be in her bank account. Rather than looking day to day on her app, we can say, we know how much money you need at the end. We can help you plan for these payments. She's scared of HMRC. Doesn't need to worry about that anymore. We're here, we're in her corner. We can contact her. She can have us even on WhatsApp if she has any issues. She can always send a photo of any letters that she gets. But from now on, we're going to be her agent, and we're going to take that pain away. She's not tech savvy. We can use her phone to message her on her phone. She can have the information she needs. We can talk about what kind of KPIs she wants to look at. I've helped lots of business owners with things like Instagram followers. I can tell you that. That could be on your KPI sheet if you want to grow, if that's your idea. You want to make more money, have more customers. We can have that on there. And she's going to be organised. No need for the paperwork. We're going to digitise her.
So it's those outcomes. It's not the stuff on the left and how we solve it with a list of services. It's actually those outcomes. She doesn't care how she gets that. She doesn't care what you do to get her there. But those are the things that are going to be a motive to her. So when we're selling a service, that's what we're looking to sort of put in that bag or put in that box. Mm-hmm. So we're selling the benefits, not the features. And when we work with our mastermind, when we work with the bookkeepers we're supporting to build their businesses, we actually talk to them about selling a gold standard service, the best outcome you can get for your client. What does that look like? Where would they be if they had that?
We often start off talking about the fact that if money was no issue and time was no issue, what could you do for a client? Have you ever thought about that? Because what we do is we go in with the scarcity mindset, assuming they're not going to pay, and they're not going to be able to afford, and we won't have a lot of time. So actually, if you just sat down and thought, if time and money was no issue, and I could do everything using automation, using AI, using subcontractors, using software, what could I do? What outcomes could I give my client? And usually it's a lot more than what we're doing currently for our clients.
And we've been talking about making this tangible. So a really good way to make this tangible is to have a step-by-step process, a method. There are probably some similarities between the process that you follow when you're working with your best clients. So you probably have a conversation with them at the beginning, sort something out for them, or understand their goals, or talk to them about their systems, or optimize the systems, streamline them. Maybe you do some work with their team. It's going to depend on what kind of client you have. That's why you need to know who your Sophie West is. But when you understand who your Sophie West is, and then you can see which stages you need to take Sophie through to get her to that peace of mind place where she's earning the money and she's able to have the mini breaks, you can put it into a step-by-step process. That's your gold service. That's the method you always follow. And then you can sell that method to Sophie. You can talk to her about the outcomes when you work with us. This is where we're going to get you to. And the way we do that, again, it's not like we'll do your payroll, we'll do your bank rec, or we'll use this piece of software. That will come later. But what you're going to say to her is, we start by sitting down and talking to you about what you do on your phone. You said you're always looking at your phone. So what are you looking at? Because if we know that, maybe there's something we can build around it. And then we talk to you about what is it about HMRC you're worried about? Where are you with things right now? And then we make a plan and we understand what you need to know to have the peace of mind. So you design that for Sophie and everyone who looks like Sophie, and then you can roll that out and you can do it for Jacqueline and you can do it for Sarah, because it's always the same. And when you understand that method, you're so much more confident to sell it because you know exactly what that process is you're taking the client through.
So you may be thinking, well, how do I price that? And that's the thing. What we like to start off with our bookkeepers in our mastermind is we do something called the perfect P&L, and we work out what are your values, what is it that you're trying to build your business for. I think we often go into business thinking, what will people pay for my services, rather than what do I want to earn from my business? So when you're selling these outcomes and you come out with freedom, more money, more time with your family, that's worth more like a £500 a month service, a £1,000 a month service. You get to decide what that is. But you can have a monthly fee for a list of outcomes, because you're not talking about invoices and bank recs and credit control.
Oh my gosh, we've spent so much time talking about how you charge the client.
Yeah.
What do you remember when we were talking about what Sophie wants from her personal life? She wants those breaks with her kids, and we've been talking about having time at the beach or having an extension. That's the reason you're running a business as well. You've got your own goals from the business. So we also need to be thinking about, how do I price it to make this worth my while? Because I've got to build a business that works for me as well. And if you can keep that motivation in mind, you're not only going to help your client, but you're going to help yourself too.
100%.
Yeah, you might think that. I mean, that's just normal. We've got to deal with that.
Yeah, we all go through, and this is the confidence journey. So this is how we feel, but it's not the truth, and this is the beauty of a community. You can see that other people are doing it, and you're like, well, people are out there paying it. I started off in 2019 charging £360 a month for my service, and then it went up and up and up, and I ended up having someone paying $2,400 a month for the service. It is possible. You just need to know that.
Yeah, and I think when you remember that you're not selling transactions anymore, you're selling a transformation. The client is going to change the way they approach finances, the way they approach their business. It's much easier to understand why you need to be charging differently. But you have a choice. I mean, you can go and charge by the hour if you want to. It's your business. Or you can charge low. You can charge low fees, or you can charge high fees. It's completely up to you. I think the thing we forget, and we speak to lots of bookkeepers and accountants who have businesses with all sorts of clients at all different levels, and will say, well, I kind of do everything I can. Like, I'll do anything. If they come to me, I'll take it on, whatever I need to do. The challenge with that is that we build a business that doesn't have infrastructure to do one thing really well. And the reality is we can serve loads and loads of low fee clients if we have the infrastructure. Like, if you think about that kind of service, someone who's not paying you very much, you're going to need hundreds of them to hit your target for the month. And you need to have the infrastructure to deliver that. And you need the client's expectation to be that you're not going to be there all the time on WhatsApp messaging them or tracking their Instagram followers or anything like that. So the service has to look different. The software you use is probably different. It's probably built on automation. It's not a people-based service. You can charge low for that, but you need volume. The alternative is you build a business where you have a high quality touch, high touch point business, a service, a method where you're working closely with the client. You charge more for that, and you have less clients. But I always say, choose one and build the business for it. That's why having this method to hang everything you do on makes so much sense, because you know what the method always looks like, and then you can choose the parts, choose the softwares, choose the communication tactics that are going to get you there.
Absolutely. So, a massive transformation, freedom, more money, time with your children, all of that is worth a lot more than £25 an hour. Would you agree?
Good. Okay, so we've spoken about confidence and we've spoken about the valuable offer. Now we just need to put it into action. So let's talk about the plan.
Yeah, we all need a plan of action. So what I would suggest is, first of all, the next discovery call that you have, give it a go. Try a new pricing methodology. Try and price something through this value method. Ask them on the call. I often get told, discovery calls, people get really nervous about what they're going to say and everything. Actually, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you are talking on a discovery call. Ask them questions and find out what their pain points are and what the problems are, because then you can let them know that you have a solution and a transformation and you can help them, and then you can sell them a monthly fee for this service. Give it a try on your next. Most people as well say they're so busy that they can't even take on another client, so test it out. That's step 1, testing it out with all new clients and new potential prospects.
If you're too busy to take on a client, you haven't really got anything to lose. And if you can charge properly for it, then maybe you can get the support in to help you to look after that client anyway.
100%. So something that we like to do with our mastermindees is get them to list out all their clients, all the fees of the client, and then we want to do a happiness score. Okay, so we want out, you can choose anything you want, 1 to 10, smiley faces, sad faces, whatever it is, but list out all your clients. And the fee we tend to do, if you're charging by the hour, take the average of the previous 3 months, divided by 3, and then you have a rough monthly average fee, recurring revenue. And then put them in the order where you've got some people at the bottom that you really don't like working with, and your happier clients at the top. And then you're going to start at the bottom, and when you're going to reprice, you're going to start with these ones. I'd suggest 3 at a time, no more than focusing on 3 at a time, because it becomes overwhelming, because you're going to need to reach out to them, have a meeting with them, explain to them the new way of working, and that's coming with a new pricing methodology, and that this is how you're going to look after them, and say sorry that you haven't been serving them maybe in the way that you would have liked to, but it's really been the pricing strategy. You are a business expert as well for them, so if you're not charging in the right way, how can they expect you to look after their money and help advise them? But the thing is, when you start off trying this out with these ones, if you lose them, you're mostly making a loss anyway. So you free up some time, and you have some weight lifted off your shoulders because you don't like them anyway. And you've practiced a few times going through this discovery call. And actually, you get more confident in selling it. Now, they may say no, and that's fine. We know of people, I heard last week from someone that we're working with, that they went out and they repriced everyone, and they lost 1/3 of their clients, but they gained £10,000 more a month with 1/3 less clients. So this is a really good way of starting to get practiced.
Yeah, it's simple, isn't it? I think we can all do this. Okay, so 3 steps to follow to implement a pricing strategy. We've got to work on our confidence. I know this is one that's going to take a bit longer, but when you start to understand the value of the offer, map that out. Go away and think about what journey do I take my clients on, and does that sit in clear steps that I take every client through? What's that offer? Implement that plan of action. I think we've done it, Jo.
We have. We have gone through the problem with the hourly rate, building the confidence to reprice, selling an intangible offer, creating a gold standard service, and you've got a plan of action of how to implement your new pricing strategy.
So in March, a couple of months ago, Jo and I set out on a mission to positively impact 1 million children in poverty by helping their parents to run more successful businesses and make more money from bookkeeping, whether that's in employment or self-employment. And if you follow this QR code, we'll actually make a donation. So we will pay for a bookkeeping course, a day of bookkeeping training for a woman in Malawi who's starting a business. So she has a more successful future, and so she can support her family more. So follow that. It charges us. We'll get charged for that day of training. Thank you. And you can read a bit more about our pledge on our website, sixfigurebookkeeper.com/pledge.
We are heading over to the Bookkeepers Base Camp over in the corner, sponsored by Xero. There's some free tea, coffee, maybe some pastries if they haven't run out already. And we will be there. We'll be giving out copies of our book, The Bookkeeper Rises. Happy to sign a copy for you. And we'll look forward to seeing you there, and we can answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
Thank you.